Welcome back to another episode of the SRU podcast with me and my guy Will Royal. Will, how you doing today with your Tennessee orange sweatshirt on?
I knew you were going to make that comment. It is not Tennessee orange. It is a little darker than that. But not gonna lie, these games were kind of anticlimactic this weekend. Like maybe we saw one or two upsets. Not really much
We've seen it
seeing.
more than one or two.
In terms of football, yeah, basketball, we'll talk about that towards the
Yeah,
end. But as we are recording this episode, the playoff poll came out about 10 minutes ago.
yeah, 10, 15 minutes ago.
And so, not really seeing much of a difference in the top five. It stays the same. LSU, USC, Alabama, and Clemson all jumped up one spot. Utah is now in the top 10. Oregon fell to 12 after their loss to Washington. Washington made a big jump from 25 to 17. I didn't really write down all the big ups and downs, but Cincinnati's I know now in the top 25. Oregon State's in there. Oklahoma State's back in it now. Tulane, they were like by our favorites for at least the group of six. They fell. It's probably going to be UCF now, which is kind of surprising because they are a team. They're a two-loss Power Five team, but there's a one-loss one that's still out there, Coastal Carolina,
Yeah,
and they're not even ranked, which
which is
kind
kind
of
of
surprising.
surprising.
That you would have UCF over them. I could be wrong. They may have had one loss, and I was just reading something wrong. But at least what I'm remembering, they have one loss, and they're not top 25 ranked.
All right.
But this week's kind of a slowish week, at least with SEC's their annual cupcake games before rivalry week. We do have a big rivalry game this weekend with USC UCLA. Other than that, I can't really think of much. College game day is going up to Montana for the Brawl of the Wild between Montana and Montana State. So that kind of just shows you where we kind of are in the season of college football.
Yeah,
But I think it's
pretty
safe to
lackluster.
say with these top six teams, I think we kind of know who's going to be in the playoffs now, don't you think?
Yeah, until next week, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, next week, we have Michigan versus Ohio State. So number 2 versus number 3.
Yeah. I mean, can't really say the same about these other schools. Like Georgia has Georgia Tech. TCU, I think they have sort of an easier
But yeah, they
game.
have Baylor. It's a big rivalry game.
Yeah, the two Christian schools in the Big 12. Then you have Tennessee playing Vandy, and then LSU playing A&M, who is eliminated from bowl contention, and we are celebrating that.
Yeah. Wait, 1 second,
Um,
Will.
oh no, we're talking about A&M. We're talking about A&M and LSU. But yeah, A&M is no longer bowl eligible, which we're celebrating essentially.
Yeah, we are. We are.
Um,
Literally, I saw a graphic that said first number 1 overall recruiting class to not be bowl eligible is this year with Texas A&M, which is very sad. Jimbo, you're lucky you have a huge contract because you would be out of there right now,
yeah,
honestly.
it'd be about
And
80.
honestly, let's not jump to conclusions. He probably will be out of there depending on if the boosters want to pay for his buyout or not.
Yeah, right now he's in that $85 million buyout. And expect the transfer portal to be very much active in College Station with players exiting.
Yeah.
But with these games, we did mention upsets, and there was one that we noticed about, and that is Oregon, number 6, dropping their big rivalry game to Washington. I don't have the final score pulled up on that one,
It
but
was 37-34.
yeah, it was that close of a contest. Michael Penix Jr. of the Huskies had 400 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, and an interception. Bo Picks had 280 yards with 2 touchdowns. We were talking about Bo Nix being a Heisman dark horse, and I think kind of this was the game that kind of deterred him off of that path now.
Not really. What he had 280 yards and he had 59 yards on the ground with a touchdown. He just win wise and just excitement. You really, I feel like nowadays you're not making it or winning the Heisman if you don't make it in the playoffs, and or if the playoff teams are just don't have any like huge Heisman favorites. So this year, he's not going to win. But like if I would say like probably like last year he would probably be like top two. I feel like maybe,
Yeah,
but yeah,
but
this year he wouldn't make it just because
but
all the other teams have pretty good Heisman candidates.
yeah, this game essentially just eliminated Oregon from playoff contention, and now with UCLA also losing, their only shot at the Pac-12 being in the playoffs comes from if USC wins out, which
And
they would need a lot to happen to get in because
yeah,
they're just currently sitting at 7. They would need um, LSU. They're probably not going to make it unless they have TCU and the loser of Ohio State and Michigan. But a lot can happen between now and then.
yeah. Honestly, USC could make it. They need to make it to the Pac-12 championship, and what they play Utah. Well, they lost to Utah already.
Yeah, they have UCLA this weekend.
So they would have to win out, basically win the Pac-12 championship, and they would need TCU to lose. They would definitely need Tennessee to probably lose.
Which they're not going to.
Yeah, and Michigan and Michigan State. I feel like one of them. If
I
TCU
mean, Ohio
loses,
State.
yeah, Michigan, Ohio State. My bad. If they lose, they could. The loser of that game could still possibly make it to the playoffs. We've seen. Have we seen anything like that before? Where a
What?
team that didn't make it to
Yeah,
the.
Bama.
No,
Bama in 2017, they lost
oh
to
yeah, they
Auburn.
didn't
They
make it
missed
to
out
the.
on the SC championship. They still
Yeah,
made it in, and they won the whole thing.
but that's Bama bias though. So you
Anyway,
can't tell me that y'all have some type of bias.
well, we're not making it this year, so
Yeah. Hey, never say never.
we have a 15% chance of making.
Hey, never say never.
Speaking of never say never, do you want to take us to our next game?
Oh yeah. Speaking of TCU and Texas, TCU and Texas did play. It was a really good game actually. Came down to what the fourth quarter. Um, Max Duggan went 19 for 29, 124 passing yards, one passing touchdown to Quinn Ewers, 17 for 39, 171 passing yards, and one interception. This game was a low scoring game. Let me get the score for that one. It was 17-10. TCU takes the dub, as we all know, because the rankings came out and all that. And Max Duggins didn't look like the Max Duggins we've seen all year. Texas's defense looked pretty good this week, last weekend. And Kendra Miller had 138 yards with one touchdown. He had a great game. He had that 75-yard touchdown run that basically busted open for TCU to win because it was like a 3-point game when that happened, something like that. I'm not
Yeah.
100% sure, but yeah, it was really close before that touchdown. And guess what? TCU almost actually lost this game because towards the end of the game, Texas scored a touchdown, and I forgot what else happened. I think they got an interception or a fumble or something, some type of turnover. And Duggins wasn't looking really hot this game. But
Yeah.
TCU's defense, I've been saying it the entire year. They have a bend but not break defense, and they've shown that this weekend. Bijan Robinson didn't really do much. It was just basically Quinn Ewers versus TCU's defense, and TCU came up on top. Well, how did you feel about this game?
It's very much different than what I thought. Like I initially said, this is going to be traditional Big 12 defense. It's going to be a very much high scoring game. Defense is not going to show out. I was wrong. This is 27 combined total points. Shows me like okay, Big 12 has a defense. But TCU controls their own destiny when it comes to this game. They went out, they win the Big 12 championship because they're already clinched a spot. They're in the playoffs. Like no shadow of that. No shadow of a doubt about it. But there's not much really I can say. I think you covered all the good spots about it. Texas taken more of a step backwards. I don't think they made they're still in the poll, at least from what I looked at. But TCU, it's their own fault if they don't make it.
Yeah,
And of course, for JP.
go Frogs. And also, I was looking at the rankings for the Big 12, and because one of my coworkers is a Texas fan, so I was giving a little shit about it. And
Yeah.
TCU could possibly get a rematch with Kansas State, and we all know that game was really close. TCU came back, was that the first week that they came back, or was it the second week?
It was one of the two.
Yeah, they had came back. So a lot of people are really prepared to see who makes it in the Big 12 championship. If I'm TCU, I probably rather play Kansas State just because they do have a little QB controversy, and you don't know what QB you will be playing, and that could help benefit TCU in the long run. Like we said earlier, they have a game against Baylor this week, and in a week after, they have a game against Iowa State, who, when I was looking at it, some graphic, they have one of the best defenses in the country with yards allowed and points allowed. So, I should be at that game, hopefully,
Yeah.
because that's the 2 days after Thanksgiving. So I'm planning on driving down to Fort Worth and going to the game.
Yeah. Going on to our next game, a kind of a shakeup in terms of the group of five. Number 17, Tulane, losing at home to 22 UCF, 38-31. John Reese Plumlee, someone we didn't really expect to do much in this game, and he kind of had a lackluster game of 17 of 30, 132 passing yards and passing touchdown. Whereas Michael Pratt of 23-39 with 236 and 3 touchdowns. I didn't watch much of this game because it was basically the same time as Bama Ole Miss, but I was really wanting to because I want to see someone else besides UCF get in that group of five before UCF moves on to the Big 12 next year.
Yeah.
But just to keep a short summary, and we're probably gonna end up seeing UCF in the group Cotton Bowl, which kind of sucks, but not much we can do.
Yeah, there's really not much we can do. I watched a little bit of this game. Like you said, it was the same time as Ole Miss, Alabama, and I also went to go see Wakanda Forever this weekend. So I didn't get to finish either of those games. So from what I saw, John Rice Plumlee played pretty well at the beginning of the game. Looking at the stats, it didn't really do much after that. And also looking at stats, he did run for 176 yards, which is crazy, and he had 2 touchdowns on the ground. I don't know why I didn't put that down there, but I didn't. But that is crazy. He did have a pretty good game on the ground. Through the air, it was a pretty decent game, but on the ground, he was looking like freaking prime Michael Vick. What is looking like? Um, Michael Pratt had a pretty good game. Didn't throw any interceptions. Had 3 passing touchdowns and threw over 200 yards. Um, on the floor, on the ground, he had -4 yards with a touchdown. So it was a pretty close game by the score. Only touchdown difference in the score. But other than that, I actually love seeing Group of Five close games between the top two opponents. I'm not 100% what's the standings for the Group of Fives right now. It's looking like Cincinnati, UCF. I don't know if Tulane can make it back in for a rematch, but I feel like the AAC conference championship will be pretty good, and I feel like me and you will probably be watching that, Will.
Yeah.
So let's go to this next one. Florida State, Syracuse. Will, we were correct. Florida State is looking like the Florida State um before Jimbo ran in the ground, when Jimbo was actually pretty
But
good.
before Willie Taggart,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah, Willie Taggart for sure. Jordan Travis went 21 for 23, almost a perfect in the air with 155 yards in the air, 3 touchdowns on the ground and 1 rushing touchdown to Garrett Schrader's 6 for 16, 65 yards. Florida State did win this game 38-3, pretty big blowout. And 3 QBs for Florida State got to play this game. And Benson for Florida State had 163 yards on the ground. So Florida State really dominated this game, and they shown after they beat LSU that they are not much to play with going on into the future. And Mike Norvell is doing a great job at Florida State. Who would have thought, Will?
Like this was his hot seat year, and he had that big win over LSU in week 1, and he's slowly building up back to where he wanted to be at Florida State, because they lost very close to Clemson, they lost very close to Wake Forest early on in the season. And this game, I think, showed them like they actually, have a good shot in the future when it comes to recruiting. And I think they have a good shot of beating Florida this year. And I'm gonna keep this brief because I didn't really watch much of this game, but I am gonna close with our news segment of the Sean Tucker tweet. For those that you don't know, Sean Tucker tweets like very constructive criticism in his weekly tweets after games, and this week's was no different. Quote Sean Tucker: Saturday we lost, Syracuse 3, FSU 38. Big thanks to the fans for the support. I'm not pleased with the performance or the outcome of the game. Offense struggled again. 14 carries for 52 yards. Too many good runs called back for penalties and negative plays. I'm back in the grind. Hashtag pleased.
Bro, it hearing you read it makes it 10 times hilarious. Because what I said last episode, he writes like he's writing to his mistress across the country in the 1770s or whatever.
Yeah, it's like very much like a basically written out apology letter from a kindergartner.
Yeah, like it sounds like his mom put him on punishment, and he has to write out, "I will not do this ever again," like 10,000 times in a row.
But moving on to our penultimate game of the week, Penn State making a very easy game out of Maryland, 30-0. Talia went 11 for 22, 74 yards. Sean Clifford, who's been there forever, went 12 for 23, 139 yards and a touchdown. Penn State, I realized that they've only lost once, and that was to Michigan when they blew a halftime lead. Oh no, they also lost to Ohio State too. So
yeah,
I think they're sitting right at 8-4 right now. But Penn State is still very much a good team. I think James Franklin, that 10-year extension isn't still looking good because he really can come up against Ohio State or Michigan, especially when they're getting close to both of them possibly being in the playoffs, depending on certain outcomes. We can possibly see that. But I think Penn State is kind of getting back on track to being where they are, being the third best team in their division, depending on what Michigan State does. But I think this game kind of shows that, like, at least from my standpoint, Talia, I still have a lot of respect for him because he was an Alabama backup. He just couldn't get it done past Mac Jones, and obviously won a national championship with Mac Jones. But it was a good pairing with him because he went back to our former offensive coordinator Mike Locksley, which I would very much rather have now as opposed to Bill O'Brien. But I mean, that's just my 2 cents on the game. I didn't watch much of it because, again, focusing on Alabama Ole Miss. And we're going to talk about it in the next game. But I think Penn State, again, coming from someone who doesn't really watch Big Ten football that much, I think Penn State's kind of back on that their track of being the third wheel in terms of the Big Ten East.
Hey, it's not that bad being a third wheel, man. I feel like they will eventually get over the hump of being that third best team in the conference. Depending on if Ryan Day ever falls off from the Urban Meyer hype train, and if John Harbaugh, or is it Jim Harbaugh? One of the Harbaugh brothers. Who cares? Who cares? It's the Big Ten. If he ever goes back to being that Michigan coach that he was at the beginning, I honestly don't think he will. If he still has problems finding a QB, he will eventually because Blake Corum is leaving soon. Just let's say
Yeah.
that he's leaving soon, and but he does always have a good defense, a sturdy defense. Um, this game maybe wasn't the best idea picking this game. We could have picked something else, but I want to see how Tulio been since he's transferred from Alabama. But Penn State looking good. Sean Clifford won't be there for long. I think this is his last year. Hopefully, that old man
He's been there
needs
for like 6 years at this point, and he's got to
that
go.
that old man needs to retire. So, but looking at the stat line, Sean Clifford, 13 yards on the ground. Singleton averaged 11.2 yards with 122 yards on the ground with 2 touchdowns, leading them in touchdowns. Tulia, they didn't score. Let's say that. 74 yards, barely more yards than what the running back had on the ground. Tulia, I'm rooting for you, man. I'm rooting for you. What he has like 2 more years. I'm pretty sure he has a COVID year, and what he's like a redshirt junior or something like that.
I think next year will be his last year.
Yeah, he's a junior. No, well, he has a COVID year. So
His freshman year was 2019, and I don't think he got any reps then, and then obviously COVID year, and then so
yeah, so he has 2 more. I think he has 2 more years.
yeah, at least one. Let's just call
Yeah,
it
yeah,
that.
yeah, at least one because he is a junior.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm rooting for him. Do I think he makes it to the NFL? Who knows? I don't know. Maybe he transfers out of Maryland and finds somewhere else to go.
I mean, the USFL is still an option. Memphis now has a team,
Yeah.
which
Oh yeah.
that
Memphis
got announced
and
today.
they're hosting what like a good amount of the games for the
They're
summer.
yeah, they're hosting. I think it's them and Birmingham are hosting the South Division games,
Yeah. So
and the XFL is coming back next year too.
yeah. So
So
hey, he
options,
could. Yeah.
there are options.
Yeah, and he could be a career backup if even that. Hey, but I've had this conversation a few times, Will, which being a backup QB is not the worst. It's probably one of the better jobs in the country. Like literally, you get paid millions of dollars to sit on the bench and throw a few passes every once in a while. I
Yeah,
wouldn't mind being a backup QB as my career. But Will, I'm gonna let you take this our last football game before we talk about a little college basketball.
yeah. So this game did not get. I'm not gonna have an aneurysm like last week because we actually won this game.
I
Uh,
didn't think y'all were gonna win this game.
but there were moments where I was like, oh, yeah, we're not winning,
Yeah,
and that is Alabama barely edging out Ole Miss 30-24. Bryce Young went 21 for 33 with 209 yards, 3 touchdowns. Jackson Dart went 18 for 31, 212 and 1 touchdown. So this game kind of surprised me. I thought Ole Miss would utilize the run defense more or utilize the run more, and they focus more on the pass heavy. And obviously, Pete Golding, his weakness is Oxford because last time we went there, we gave up like 47 points to Ole Miss. But again, it's the same old what we've seen so far this season, at least when it came to like the likes of A&M and Texas and even Arkansas. And that is, we're struggling to close out these games on the road. Obviously, we lost at Tennessee and at LSU, and barely scraped by at Texas, and now barely scraped by in
in
Oxford, and
Texas A&M.
that was a home game.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, my bad. I'm
and
just saying, barely scraped by Texas A&M was one of
uh,
those games.
I'm just talking about on like true road games this
Yeah,
year, and then Arkansas. There was like a moment where I was like, I don't know, I think we'll win this because with Bryce being out.
yeah.
But again, Bill O'Brien, please leave. Pete Golding, please leave.
Did you see?
Um,
Did you see what I sent you earlier? The Pete Golden is in for the Royals Award for best assistance.
they're going to make that award just like on something.
I saw something on Twitter. They were like, they must be giving out that award to every assistant in the nation.
Basically. But I've seen rumors of us going after, like, if we move on Pete Golding, we go after Garrett Sharmer, who's the co-defensive coordinator of Georgia. He's an Alabama alum. who's a grad assistant for Saban for a couple years in the beginning years of the Saban era. I think that'll be a good hire. And then offensive coordinator, just literally anyone but Bill O'Brien.
Anybody. Just throw it.
Um,
Hey, Scott Frost is out there, man.
and he's more of a defensive coach, but
Hey, doesn't mean he can't coach offense. Well, he can't coach anybody from what
that
we
is true.
saw in Nebraska.
That is true. And this is what pisses me off when it comes to Bill O'Brien, and that is we're at the 5 yard line and we're still passing the ball when we have Jahmyr Gibbs, who is consistently been good for most of our games. He's putting up about 100 yards a game.
Well, he did get injured, didn't he?
Briefly, yeah. And we mostly have been having Chase McClellan and Roy Dell Williams do most of the heavy lifting. But I'm just gonna leave it this because I'm gonna want to talk about college basketball, and the more I talk about Bama is probably not good for my mental health at this point. Um, I mean, Ole Miss, no credit to Ole Miss. They're a good team, and our one of our friends kept saying like the refs call unfavorable calls on them, and some of them I do agree with. Like there was like one or two pass interference calls that should have been called, but they weren't. And this is saying like Ole Miss even had a first down when they were really a yard short on fourth down early on in the game. But I think the refs were kind of a factor when it came to this game. But Bam, like my biggest worry at the end of the game was, it's fourth down, they're gonna pass it, and we're gonna get called for a pass interference. Somehow we don't, and we win the game. If they're like, I was guaranteed there's gonna be a pass interference. We would put them at the 5. They would score with 20 seconds to go, and they would win the game.
Yeah. How do you feel about Quinshawn Judkins running 135 on y'all and y'all not basically going after him? Don't you kind of wish you went after him in the recruiting wise?
Yeah, because he's from Alabama.
Yeah.
And like he's probably like been one of the best running backs in the country. I know there's a freshman award. I think it's the Manziel Award. I'm surprised they named it after him, but um, I know this like oh no, it's the Peyton Manning Award. That's what it
Okay, I was
is.
about to say Manziel Award is cool, is
I
wild.
think
That's
it's the
all.
Peyton Manning Award for best freshman. I could be wrong. I'll check after this episode. But if he's not leading it, he should be because like he's been consistently good for Ole Miss, and I think the next 2 years he's going to be a problem in the SEC.
Him and Zach Evans in the backfield is pretty good.
Filthy.
Yeah.
But
But I don't really have much to say on that game. I feel like you hit all the points for that. We're going to hit a little college basketball. There's been a lot of upsets. We just witnessed an upset not too long ago. Michigan State just upset Kentucky in double overtime, and Kentucky's number 4. Northwestern just upset at TCU.
I think you mean Northwestern State.
Yeah, Northwestern State upset TCU. We have Colorado who upset Tennessee, and we have UC Irvine last week who upset at Oregon, and Temple upset Villanova. So there's been a lot of upset pre-conference play, and I actually love pre-conference play. You really get to see what mid-major schools could either make it into the brackets, and even if they make it, who could eventually upset one of the teams in bust brackets. So I usually love watching pre-conference. Most people don't. Thanksgiving is coming around, so there's a lot of classics and tournaments. I know Arkansas is going to the Maui Invitational. Our first Maui Invitational game is next week against Louisville, who's not looking good. And another team that's not looking good is Florida State, who started the season off 0-3. How do you feel about college basketball so far since this is like the second or third week?
No, like you said, I love college basketball. Definitely something like you said, it's something I look forward to every year. Right now I have my split screen going on my TV. I have Duke, Kansas on one side and South Alabama on the other. I'm trying to pull up Alabama's schedule right now because I think we're in a preseason tournament. Yeah, we're in the Phil Knight Invitational, where we play Michigan State in the first round, and then we'll have either Oregon or UConn right after that. So that'll be
Yeah.
fun to look at.
Are they doing
Um,
custom jerseys for that? I remember Arkansas was in it a few years ago, and like all the teams got custom Nike jerseys
they
for that.
might. I'm not 100% certain. I'll know when it's played out next week. Because their first game is on 24th on Thanksgiving Day. But like you said, Florida State started off 0-3, which kind of surprised me to two real mid-major schools in Stetson, which is a school up in North Florida, and then last night to Troy, and then their other losses to UCF, who's about to leave for the Big 12. But there's so much college basketball going on. I don't know if you even mentioned about Gonzaga losing on the carrier ship the other
Oh,
day.
no, Gonzaga won that. They
Oh, they won
almost
that.
lost. Yeah, they almost lost. It
Yeah,
was a
that,
good game. They actually have a game. When this video is posted, they should be playing. They play Texas, and they have a brutal pre-conference schedule. And Sunday they play Kentucky, and I'm pretty sure it was a. I saw it. They play another like really good team coming up. Let me check right quick.
but also just going off the same board of Alabama, they also have Houston and Memphis this year.
Yeah, well
Um,
they played Memphis last year. I
and
remember.
Houston last year, and but it's flipped around. So they're traveling to Houston, and Memphis is coming to Tuscaloosa.
Okay, okay. Yeah. Gonzaga also played Baylor at the beginning of December, December the 2nd. And they play out Alabama, who upsetted them last year.
Yeah,
So,
in Seattle. I remember watching that game on the way
yeah.
back from the SC championship. But college
So,
basketball, now it's like second week of the season, and I just can't wait to see where it goes. And we'll be talking a lot more about it once football's over. And just for the record, I'm a huge mid-major guy, so I'm going to be diving a lot into that.
yeah. Yeah, we will definitely do updates like this. If any like huge games, we'll probably review it. We'll probably end up reviewing the game that's tonight and tomorrow on Thursday's podcast also. So yeah, we're slowly gonna add college basketball, and eventually we're gonna have a college basketball pod
Yeah.
after college football is over. So yeah, thank y'all guys for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and turn the post notifications on. And hey, Will, another great pod with you, man.
Yep.
See you
Thursday
later.
come around, we'll do our pick'ems, and you know, we'll go from there.
Yeah, see y'all later. Deuces.
Deuces.